Now, this is the big question in which we tackle a major news story of the day. Tonight, the former Chancellor and now Chairman of the Conservative Party, Nadhim Zahawi, has said an error in his tax affairs was accepted by HMRC as having been careless and not deliberate. In a statement, he said he wanted to address any confusion about his finances after claims he tried to avoid tax and then had to pay it back. The Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, is satisfied with Mr Zahawi's account, suggesting he may well stay on in his current role. Labour have said there was a whole list of questions that still need answering. The party has called on Mr Zahawi to publish all correspondence with HMRC to get the full picture. Now, The Guardian have reported that Mr Zahawi had to pay back the tax he owed with a 30% penalty, and the total amounts to, wait for it, £4.8 million. Now, we're not able to bear out that figure, but it begs a wider question. Should all MPs be forced to publish their tax returns? Would you like to see their tax returns? To debate this, I'm delighted to welcome former Conservative Government Minister, best-selling author and television personality Anne Widdecombe, the star of Mark Dolan Tonight every Sunday, and a warm return to the programme from Labour MP for Birmingham Perry Barr, Khalid Mahmood. Lovely to have you with us again, Khalid. Do you think all MPs should publish their tax returns?
Well, pleasure to be with you both. No, I don't think that. I don't think it's important.
You got something to hide, Khalid? You got something to hide?
Oh, come on.
No, I've got absolutely nothing to hide. This is just absolutely absurd, Mark. And for you to say that on this programme is complete nonsense. We want to attract the best people coming into Parliament, and by stripping them of all dignity, which is what this is about, it doesn't do that. We have standards where we report all of our interests, do that. We have HMRC who looks at our annual returns and does something. No, I don't have anything to hide. I'm quite happy for the HMRC to go through them, and if there's anything wrong with which they do every year to do that. All we're doing is pushing Parliament back and back and putting less people of quality that would come forward. That is the problem. And you want to frighten people away from that, you carry on down that step. And that's the problem. Give them dignity. Will you take that to the civil service? Will you take it to the chief of police? Will you take it to the National Health Service? Will they all have to declare their tax returns? I don't think so. So let's do it properly.
Well, Khalid, you know I'm pulling your leg about you having something to hide, but I take your point. Something very unusual has happened, which is that Anne Widdecombe is agreeing with the Labour MP. Anne, what's going on?
Well, I can tell you exactly what's going on. For once in a blue moon, a Labour MP is talking complete good sense. I mean, what has been said covers it all. I've hardly anything to add, except that I think the most important part of what we've just heard is this, that we do lack quality in Parliament. We do lack people of quality. And if you're to get them in, you won't do that by holding up every single bus ticket to ridicule, by wanting to know every last detail of their private lives, by wanting to see their tax returns. If there is something amiss with a tax return, leave that to HMRC. That's what HMRC is for. No, of course MPs shouldn't have to publish their tax returns. If that had been brought in when I was there, I would have said, right, here is one tax return for you to see so that you can see there's nothing wrong with my affairs at all, and now I'm off. That's what I would have said. Be careful.
However, Anne, it's good enough for the US president to publish his or her tax returns, the greatest democracy on earth.
Holding guns is good enough for America. All the citizens have got guns or can have guns. That's good enough for America. All sorts of things are good enough for America that I sincerely hope we will continue to resist here. And, you know, there is no need for us to publish our tax returns just because, you know, the President of the United States publishes his. Now, if an MP wants to publish his or her tax returns, that's entirely up to that MP. But certainly there should be no requirement at all. You're going to put good people off, and they're already put off enough as it is. Look around
Khalid Mahmood, I accept what you've said there about the idea that it could be a disincentive to high achievers from entering Parliament. And I agree with you there. We've got to attract the great and the good, just like your good self. You make a significant contribution to public life as the Member of Parliament for Birmingham Perry Barr. Does that mean that you'll defend Nadeem Zahawi because he's made it clear he has no case to answer at this point and should keep his job?
The issue with Nadeem is that HMRC has raised this particular issue and it's been dealt with, and therefore it's right once the issue has been raised for people to ask for an inquiry into that, and that's exactly what's happening. So if there's a particular issue raised through investigative journalism, or other issue information that comes forward, then you ask for that information. And at the moment, I think we're dealing with that. We'll see if the standards body investigates that or not. And if it doesn't, it stays as it is.
OK, so, I mean, what's your instinct with Nadeem Zahawi at the moment, Khalid? Do you think that he should stay in post?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I think it should be investigated properly, and there is no untoward issues are found. Then he should stay. If he has been compromised, then he should be held to task.
Do you buy, Anne Widdecombe, the idea that Mr. Zahawi simply made a mistake? It was an oversight.
I don't need to buy it or not buy it because I do not know. And the only people who know the details of his tax affairs are HMRC. Now, what are you going to suggest next, Mark? Should we all publish our bank statements, so that people can see what we've got in the bank? It is absolute invasion of privacy. Now, if he's done something wrong, there is a standards committee, there's HMRC itself, there's all of that can be done. But when it comes to prying into MPs' personal affairs, we have got to learn to stop. It's not our business. How can I judge? How can I judge whether he's done something wrong? What a daft question, with all due respect, Mark, to ask me. What we know, Anne, I appreciate the correction. I defer to your eternal wisdom, but the bottom line is he's had to write a 7-figure cheque to HMRC. It's not a great look, is it, for the chairman of the Conservative Party? Whether it was a mistake or not, many will just think this guy's got a team of accountants. He was Chancellor of the Exchequer. He's clearly not fit for high office. Now, that is a complete nonsense. There are all sorts of reasons why people come to a different conclusion from HMRC. It is quite normal when you're talking about figures at that level for people to argue with HMRC. And that is perfectly permissible. But at the end of the day, it will be HMRC who decides. And they haven't said that they're referring the matter to the courts, that this is a case of tax evasion. They haven't said that. So why would we presume to say it?
Indeed, but we're potentially talking about £4 or £5 million, Anne. And this is a man that just a few months ago was Chancellor of the Exchequer. How can he neglect to pay that sort of amount of money, given the resources at his disposal? And this was a man that was responsible for the country's finances.
£4 or £5 million is Toy Town money to me. Maybe it's Toy Town money to you. But Zahawi is rich. And it won't have that sort of order of magnitude, comparatively speaking, for him. But I don't care whether it's a large sum or a tiny one. All that I observe is that if there had actually been serious tax evasion or non-disclosure or something of that sort, HMRC would almost certainly, on that scale, refer it to the courts. They haven't done so.
Anne, a quick word before you go. Does this story present the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, with a problem and a dilemma? Ought he be seen to do something?
I think it will present him with a problem because, it's a PR disaster, whatever else can't be said for it. And he's going to be asked all sorts of awkward questions, and he doesn't know anything about Nadeem's tax affairs any more than I do. So he's got to speak on the basis of what he's been told, not on the basis of what he thinks. So, yes, he is going to have a problem. And yes, as ever, whenever there's a question about the finances of a high-ranking Conservative, there's always the old allegation of Tory sleaze. But it really doesn't follow. And what I would actually like to see at some stage is some senior politician just turn round and say to your profession, not you, Mark, but your profession, OK, that's enough. We are suing. And he would be able to sue big time if he's done nothing wrong. So be careful.
Anne, a delight to have you on the programme. We'll see you in a week's time. My thanks to Anne Widdecombe and Labour MP Khalid Mahmood, who we lost the line to, but we'll speak to him very soon.